Good afternoon from sacred space at Titania's realm. It's 3:05 p.m. on the 23rd of April 2025. I thought I would continue reading from Ghost Stations 2, Bruce Barrymore Hate Me. We're up to chapter 5, The Keeper of Memories. This is my third attempt to make this video. The first one, I had a little emotional vent and decided I'm not gifting certain unworthy, cretinous, vile types any more of my energy than they've already had for 14 years. So, deleted that one off. Babies, when the mama walks away, the mama walks away. And then the second one, the little genie in my laptop, blipped me off when I was 2 pages in, which is also rather irksome. So this is my third attempt. Let's see how we go with that, shall we, babies? The Keeper of Memories. The control tower, the Keeper of Memories, is the most haunted building on the old airfields, and it is easy to understand why. The old wartime control tower at Fulbeck. The watchtower, as referred to by the Air Ministry but became best known by its American terminology, a control tower. This was the heart of the station, beating life as the mist rolled in and the bombers struggled to get airborne. The last calls for help were heard over the tannoy in the control tower. This is P. Peter. This is P. Peter. Can you read me? Can you read me? Wounded and losing height over the north. So it is not surprising that many people have claimed to hear and see things in the old control towers. Excuse me. Oh. I get an uneasy feeling, sort of cold, whenever I go inside the old control towers, said Jack Smith. And Cliff Sims from Mansfield said, of all the airfield buildings, the control towers are the most eerie places that I have been in. If airfields are the most haunted places in the country, and control towers the most haunted building on the airfields, then the control tower at Elsham Waltz had to be the most haunted place of all. For many years, Mr. and Mrs. Gregory and their 5 children lived in the old wartime control tower after part of it had been converted into a house. The Gregorys' ghostly neighbours, phantom airmen, mysterious Morse code messages tapping out in the dead of night, soon had the local press in hot pursuit. In October 1976, Patrick Otter and Brian Frith from the Grimsby Evening Telegraph interviewed the Gregorys. We don't believe in this sort of thing, but we have to believe what we have seen with our own eyes, said Mrs. Gregory. It was strange at first, said Mr. Gregory. Mrs. Gregory woke up one night to see a ghostly figure of a man standing at the foot of the bed. Here's the haunted control tower where they lived. Not a terribly exciting looking abode at all. I would have hated that, living in a box like a rat. Then I Guess my marital home was kind of boxy like that too. It's probably why it all went to shit in a shit basket, partly. Had a bad history, my marital home. There had been 3 divorces before we bought that house. Well, my marriage was doomed from the beginning, let's be fair here. But there had been 3 divorces in that house, and then 2 Palestinian brothers bought the house from us. Well, I found this out later through gossipers. And they were very close brothers till they lived in that house, and then they ended up, being estranged and selling the house too. Isn't that odd? It's very odd. When I had that house, it was a kosher house, like completely even koshered by a rabbi. And so it had nothing to do with religion, though. It would have been to do with the energies and the ley lines. Because it destroyed 2 Muslim brothers' lives as well. So it wasn't particular what religion you had, it just was out to get you. Just like that. Some places are just evil, aren't they? But to be fair, that marriage was well already on the rocks before we migrated here. I was just had 2 little babies and remained in denial for a very, very long time. That's why the mama does not do denial and only speaks the truth, even if it cuts her both ways. Can't stand liars, deception, twisted people who have to live in the shadows of their own existence because they're piss weak. Can't stand it. The truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Quite literally, I'm afraid. Too many con artists and putrescent, evil, perverted people have crossed my path since infancy, and I can't abide them. They literally make me sick to my core. Right, where was I on that? The goat standing at the foot of the bed. He was smiling and wearing a blue jacket, white shirt and dark tie, she said. There was something about him which put me at ease. I wasn't frightened at all. He walked round to the side of the bed, but, pardon me, as I put my hand out, he smiled again and disappeared. Just remember, a prophet, not that I claim to be a prophet, but on a technicality, a prophet is a person who speaks the truth. Isn't that ironic? Twisted. My humour can be a bit dark and twisted. Too much trauma can make you like that. So I have no apologies for that. It is what it is. Anyway, there was something about him which put me at ease. I wasn't frightened at all. He walked round to the side of the bed, but as I put my hand out, he smiled again and disappeared. One night their son Paul woke up screaming, "Can't you hear that plane? It's taking off and it's not coming back." Had young Paul entered the time zone? If he had, he would have relived the account of the aircraft and known that it was not coming back. Hence his emotional state at the time and why he woke up screaming. Mrs. Gregory said it made a very vivid impression on him. But today, the haunted control tower at the old wartime airfield of Elsham Waltz is no more. It has been bulldozed away. But do the spirits remain, waiting to be unlocked again? Not always. Sometimes once the old building, where all those energies were attached to is destroyed, they move on. Usually, but not always. They can remain, but it's rare, I think. Usually once all that accoutrement of the era is gone, they're gone too. Where do they go to? Where do you go to, my lovely? when you're alone in your bed. I wonder. Many old wartime control towers, the keeper of memories and the home for many spirits, are now nothing more than empty shells open to the elements, but still home for many a ghost. A ghostly light has been seen many times at the old Bottisford control tower. In 1981, when they were filming on the old airfield at West Malling for the We'll Meet Again television series, about 30 people, actors and film crew, were standing near the control tower waiting for a take when the film director asked for the two men and the WAF, who were looking into the engine of a Jeep, to move out of shot. But when approached by one of the film crew, they just disappeared. Here's the Bottisford control tower, where a ghostly light has been seen. They're all very bleak and awful buildings. So, but it's England, isn't it? It's often damp and cold and bleak. Like the weather's just turned so ugly all of a sudden. Here we're getting definitely getting rain. Oh well, it is what it is, people. I'm glad it was most of the day was glorious. I enjoyed that. I really did. I enjoy every day as if it's a beautiful gift waiting to be unwrapped just for me and you, people of Earth. Enjoy each day. And never let the bastards grind you down. Live your best life and hold your line and stay sane in the membrane. And if you have a beautiful lover who loves you, make sweet love knowing that you're cherished and adored. And unfortunately that didn't work out for me, did it? But I wasn't going to be the catalyst to destroy but it was all bullshit, let's face it. But I stood on my integrity to the very bitter end. So I can lie straight in bed when I go to bed at night, even though I don't know where I go when I drift off into the astral plane. I can have dignity and pride in myself, which is worth its weight in buckets of gold, by the way. In the early 1970s, Flight Lieutenant Len Devonshire was on night duty in the control tower at RAF Wittering with a WAAF WAF duty officer when suddenly they froze. The sound of footsteps were clearly heard coming up the stairs. They both knew there should be no one for the door, into the control tower was kept locked for security reasons. There should have been a comma in there somewhere. Yes, they both knew there should be no one, comma, for the door into the... Forget about it. Forget about it, people. Forget about it. It's done. There was a strange feeling in the building. We both went to the landing to see who had got into the control tower building, said Devonshire, and we were confronted by a man in World War II style flying suit, fur-lined boots and leather helmet. Wow. We both stood petrified. So I'm assuming that he was fully manifested. Remember, like my former lover, enemy, frenemy, nemesis that literally tried to kill me back in 2000, the motherfucker. That still haunts me occasionally. That dead shit really is dead and still remains a shit. Remember how he joked with me yesterday that he was going to fully manifest one day? And I said he doesn't have the power? Well, some spirits, some are able to appear like a normal person standing in front of you. Like you can't tell that they're a ghost. You have entire conversations with them and even touch them. They feel a bit cold to the touch, which is kind of a bit of a clue, and then suddenly they'll just vanish. That's what I mean by I say he doesn't have the energy or the power to fully manifest. Which, to be fair, was a bit nasty of me because I don't know. He might have by now. He might have that ability. If he fully manifests, do you know what I would do? I'd be so obnoxious. He had a very large penis. I'd say, prove it to you. Show me the length of your penis. And if he actually did, I'd be like, okay, I believe you now. But, it's nonsensical, people of Earth. I don't really want to see his penis ever again either. Don't want anything to do with the man, really, but he just floats on and out. I think he thinks he's helping me. Helping me look insane on my own YouTube channel, am I right? It's cute. It's adorable. I don't really care, though, because he's dead and I'm alive. So far, so good. So, we carry on. We both stood petrified. I'm still laughing about that. I just said I would prove it to you, show me your penis. Well, it's true. It's like, what an idiot. He was really a highly intelligent man, but an idiot. One of my idiots. I don't know anyone in Switzerland, so I won't be answering that phone call, that's for sure. Where were we? Strange number anyway. Very short number. We both stood petrified, unable to speak, and could not believe what we were hearing, what we were seeing. He passed by us, but did not seem to see us, and he made no attempt to communicate. His footsteps echoed along the landing as the ghost flyer went into the senior air traffic controller's office. After a few minutes, he came out of the office and went down the stairs again. Len Devonshire, sometimes I laugh, when I get phone calls from foreign countries. Sometimes I feel like answering, but in their language. Like when, I could have gone, Guten Abend, was machst du, or something, But I can't be bothered playing because they're just scammers. They're just time wasters. They just get route themselves all over the internet and the phone system. Half the time, it's dead air, and I'm not that bored and lonely to play with them, although sometimes it's tempting to, like that sweet delusional woman that rang me from the Greens Party. I was like, are you serious? I was supposed to be on a do not call register, by the way. Do not fucking call. Don't call me. I'll call you, am I right? Anyway, doesn't work. Obviously, it's not working anymore. That do not call register. I might have to go and have a look at it and refresh it somehow. It's all very pesky and annoying, like being covered in fucking hives. Just want to scratch someone's eyes out. Anyway, where were we? That's right. His footsteps echoed along the landing as the ghost flyer went into the senior air traffic controller's office. After a few minutes, he came out of the office and went down the stairs again, clearly going about his normal duties. But astonishing. Len Devonshire and the WAF officer could not believe what they had just seen. Was it a ghost? Len Devonshire rushed to check the outside door. It was still securely locked. He was so real and as solid looking as I am, said Len. I was paralysed at the time, solely because the incident was so unexpected. So unexpected, said Len Devonshire. But when do you expect a ghost, as stated in Chapter 1? It does not have to be the hallowed ground of some ancient churchyard or burial place. Ghosts and other phantoms can show up at any time, day or night, and when we least expect them. Dogs have a sixth sense, and over the years many police guard dogs have been reported that they would not go near many of the control tower buildings from the vast evidence received. It is easy to understand why. In the 1950s, men complained about lights mysteriously switching on and off in the control tower at RAF Litchfield. Yet no one was in the building. The police guard dogs, vicious beasts at the best of times, would not go near the control tower at night. When within 50 yards of the building, their hackles would rise and with a low growl would not move. Here's another very bleak looking control tower at Bruntingthorpe, which is reputed to be haunted. Police guard dogs refuse to go near the tower. Some of my videos are positively fizzing at the moment, people of Earth, and curious minds might wonder why. Never mind. It's probably the subject matter. Paranormal ghost stories? Am I right? Or the free entertainment they get from my Dropkick Drop-In, David Davidson, or my little segues. Anyway, I said I needed to be a success, but I have no desire to be successful on the backs and on the misery of other people. So if you've got Schadenfreude, get off my channel, because I'm not here to feed your filthy, poisonous, evil proclivities. And if you're here out of genuine interest, then welcome to Titania's Rock. But it's nice to be supported for a change. Really nice. Pity that didn't happen before, didn't it? That I was just being played for a fucking fool. But powerful lesson to be learned for everyone. Don't use and abuse or treat a woman like me like some kind of gimp. Not necessary at all. Merely had to use your words. Tanya, you're in danger here and we can't protect you and it's stressing us out. Can we politely ask you to stop supporting us? And I would have happily done so. Would have been a bit upset to hear those words, but at least it would have been honest and respectful. So, anyway. Not everyone sees a ghost, which they know one is there with an uneasy feeling. One dull November afternoon in 1965, Bob Ballard was wandering around the old airfield in Gravely in Cambridgeshire. The light was fading fast. As the mist rolled in across the airfield, I suddenly became aware of hustle and bustle and footsteps of people coming from inside the old derelict control tower, close to where I was standing, he said. The place was deserted, but the sounds were clear, even to a door quietly closing. I made a hasty retreat without lingering for long. In the early 1970s, David Rimmer, that name kind of rings a bell actually, was working in the York area and being interested in aviation. He decided to look over the old wartime airfield of Acaster Malbus in Yorkshire. It was an airfield with a tragic wartime past, being a most unsuitable site, and many aircraft crashed due to misty conditions along the river Ouse or Ouse, O-U-S-E. I guess Louse, Ouse. It's hard to tell with certain English words though. But for David Rimmer, it was an airfield, a disused airfield, one to be looked over, and he recalls his visit. I ventured onto the disused airfield. The day was bright, sunny, and without any sign of a breeze. Following my inspection of the watchtower, I suddenly heard the sound of radial engines being run up. I looked upwards for an aircraft, but there was none. This puzzled me, so I looked in the adjacent field, thinking it was a tractor, but no tractor. This experience lasted for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then suddenly stopped. So what had David Rimmer experienced? He is not one to believe in ghosts. In fact, he says, trying to convince people of what I experienced at Ancaster Malbus. Oh, here it says Acaster. Ancaster sounds more likely, that's why I stumbled over it before. Has not been easy, and it is only in the past couple of years that I have been taken seriously. I have now spoken on several occasions to various organisations on this particular subject. At the time of writing, David Rimmer is chairman of the Clyde, I don't know how to pronounce that, it's Welsh, C-L-W-Y-D, Clyde, I can't, Aviation Group, and is a very serious-minded person. He was on the edge of the time zone and was unable to enter. Why? That I cannot answer. Sylvia Tucker was near the control tower when she had an encounter, a ghostly reunion. She did unlock and enter the time zone. David was on the edge. Seems to happen a lot with Davids, doesn't it? Well, the Davids that were in my life, previous Davids. No future Davids. I held to blame for the other Davids, just saying. But there was quite a few unfortunate Davids in my life. Right, where do we go from there, babies? Where do we go to from there? Oh yes, but he is not on his own at being on the edge. And two others to fall under the mystical spell from the control tower were June Constable and her friend Philippa. In September 1976, they had a drive out from London into East Anglia to look around the old walled town of Lavenham in Suffolk. Somehow they managed to get lost and ended up on the old wartime airfield of Lavenham that was home for the Americans during the war years. They drove along slowly with the car windows open, looking at the old bomber station. Undecided what to do, they stopped the car not far from the old control tower whilst they decided how to get off the airfield. And, for for some unknown reason. They sat almost rooted to the spot, as if held by an unknown force. There was a feeling of being held back, said June Constable, and we felt almost like intruders. From being an ordinary, happy morning, suddenly I felt catapulted back in time, almost as though I was surrounded by young people, active and alive. But they were not. The laughter seemed resentful in an amused kind of way, as though these young boys' spirits had suddenly been intruded upon by us and were laughing at us and the fact that we reacted to the situation by feeling this. And she added, also a feeling of great sadness enveloped the airfield, and the bright day was gone. It's a very morose looking skyline out there now. Fabulously bright day we had here earlier. By the gods, what a change in the weather. Before I continue reading, I'll show you the haunted control tower at Colby Grange. Again, the theory of a time zone comes into it for June Constable said it felt as though she was suddenly catapulted back in time. Had she unlocked and entered the time zone that sunny September day in 1976? Was it because they were near the control tower? After reading my previous books, Adrian Railton and his friend Andrew Smith from Cottingham in North Humberside decided to explore a number of abandoned wartime airfields in Lincolnshire. It was to be an experience they will never forget. Adrian Railton explains in his own words, during a day's touring of airfields in Lincolnshire, myself and a friend, Andrew Smith, visited the wartime control tower at Colby Grange near Lincoln. It was 24th September 1987, a sunny day about 2 p.m. But as soon as we set foot inside the control tower, we noticed an eerie, chilling atmosphere. I remember I heard some sort of faint sound from within the building somewhere, but thought nothing more about it. After looking into all the curious little empty rooms on the ground floor, we ascended to the upper floor. Immediately I became aware of some sort of presence, although my friend did not. There was a feeling of intense unease as we ventured into every room, some no bigger than cupboards. I felt we were definitely not alone. Descending down the steps to the ground floor, we headed out towards the old runway, when my friend happened to glance back up at the large gaping windows at the front of the control tower. He told me to turn round quickly. He said he saw a movement on the upper floor. Inside, a dark shape had passed from one room across the narrow passageway and into another. By the time I turned round, it had gone. We stood staring up at the eerie exterior for some minutes and were about to turn away when a sound coming from the control tower shattered the silence. It sounded as though someone had pelted a stone from the upper floor of the control tower onto concrete below. My friend wanted to return to the car, but I wanted to stay a little longer. The back of the control tower was as yet unseen, and so we made our way around the other side. It was then I got the feeling someone was standing on the balcony and had followed us around to the back. Returning to the front of the building for one last look, we were about to turn away, back down the track, when exactly the same sound, like a stone being thrown on concrete, only this time a little louder, cut through the silence. This time we got the shudders and the distinct impression someone was standing on that balcony, watching us, and was giving us gentle warnings to leave. We both said we felt like intruders, and with that we left. Both Adrian Railton and Andrew Smith are level-headed men. Adrian holds an honours degree in combined studies, history, geography and English, and is not a person to fear the supernatural. But immediately after the sound of the second stone being thrown, they both felt extremely uneasy. I spoke with Adrian afterwards, and he said, "We both felt like intruders and had the distinct impression we should not stay any longer, or one of us would have received a direct hit. Someone was definitely warning us to leave." We walked back to the car quicker than we came. When we returned to the car, shaken, I could not concentrate on the map for ages, and neither of us could eat a thing for several hours. I asked Adrian if they had visited any other old airfields. We had been to the old Bottisford airfield a couple of hours before Colby Grange on that same day. Ouch! Ow! But found limited access onto the runways and no access to the control tower, he said. So was it haunted? I asked Adrian what he thought about it. His reply was most interesting. "I think the upper floor of the control tower seems to hold something abnormal. It was as I mounted the steps to this floor, I felt most frightened and could sense a presence up there. It was on this upper floor Andrew saw the moving shape, and it was on this upper floor from where the stones must have been thrown. On this first floor, I remember I felt so frightened. I could hardly put one foot in front of the other. My legs felt like jelly, and it was as if some force was pushing me back. I have certainly never felt like that before. I've been to many ruined castles and historic buildings over the years, but never felt anything like that. I really did expect to see someone appear, but Andrew did not experience this feeling. Adrian and his friend had certainly had an encounter, but what? I asked him if there were any sounds, and he replied, "No sounds to be heard, apart from the sounds we heard, not even bird song." I then asked him what he thought the sound was he heard when he first entered the control tower. The sound that I heard shortly after we entered the control tower, coming from somewhere within the building, I can only say this noise sounded like the rustle of paper being stacked. Also very strange, for there was nothing in the building that could have produced a noise like stacking paper. The building was nothing more than an empty shell. When I asked if he would go back again. His reply only strengthened my time zone theory. Yes, I think I would return to Colby Grange, he answered, but I do not think I would like to set foot inside again. Since the experience, I have become more aware and fascinated by ghostly happenings. I think we had stumbled on some kind of time warp, where echoes of the past are very much alive. Time warp, time zone, one of the same in the feeling of so many people. I call it the time stream actually. It's like a river. Sometimes we go over the same old stones. But a river should never touch the same stone twice, should it? Moving on is the thing, people of Earth. Moving on. Delousing myself as I speak. A time zone. And they had entered at a hostile time from the stone warning. It is known that in 1943, Colby Grange was a major base for night fighters in Lincolnshire. Also, the fighters from Colby Grange were involved in Ranger operations, which involved individual aircraft strafing road and rail targets in occupied Europe. At the end of September 1943, a crew member was killed, and it was a severe blow to his close friend. Was that the reason for the stone throwing? Had Adrian Railton and Andrew Smith called at a wrong time, entered the time zone, just as the crew member was posted missing? Whatever, it had been a clear warning to Adrian, who said, "We never expected to see or hear anything strange, as you tend to think strange happenings occur to other people." Can so many people be wrong? Does the control tower hold the key to the time zone on the old airfields? For Gordon West, it does, and he became aware of it when, in October 1983, he paid a visit to the old East Kirkby airfield in Lincolnshire. Not aware of who owned the airfield and not wishing to take any liberties, West stood back a pace from the control tower, just content to drink in the atmosphere. Suddenly, he saw a man in flying clothes walking towards the control tower. He watched him enter the building, then decided to go across and ask who was the owner of the airfield in order to get permission to look around. Here's a photo of the haunted control tower at East Kirkby, where Gordon West had a close brush with the supernatural. The tower's seen here before it was installed. Looks like my house, which badly needs painting too. Fuck you, Buranda Housing, you cheap cunts. Yes, I said that out loud on YouTube for the government and everyone else to hear. It's a disgrace. I'm living in this house for 22 years and they're too cheap to paint it. Letting sit in my own rot of their making, not mine. I've asked them numerous times to paint this house. It's disgraceful. I'll have to write to some high-up politician, the kind of people I hate so much because they genocided my species. So I guess they'll never paint my house to punish me for speaking out against their wholesale slaughter of millions. Fuck you. Anyway, on we go and on we go. Happy days, eh? As he made towards the control tower, Another man in flying clothes suddenly appeared and entered the building. By this time, I had reached the tower and waited for the airman to come out. He said, it was by now obvious that no flying was in progress as I could see no aircraft. Puzzled, I just stood there. At last 2 more American-type aircrew appeared, coming towards the tower. Clearing my throat to ask who the owner was, I then realised that I was not going to find out. These 2 chaps looked real enough to me, but the faces, they were dead white. Once again, the keeper of memories held good to its name. Yet another person had fallen under its spell. After seeing those ghostly flyers, I realised that the tower was still very much alive, said Gordon West. One thing is certain, the keeper of memories remains a keeper of memories. Right, people of Earth, we're now up to chapter 6. I'll just see how long that is, because we're 46 minutes and 20 seconds in, and this might be a very long one. And that's about another hour and a half worth. I guess we could squeeze it in. How long was this one? A lot shorter. So, I perceive perhaps another hour of you listening to me reading these stories. So, if you're willing to continue with it, then so am I, babies. Chapter 6. Paranormal Happenings in Lincolnshire. Just before I launch into that though, I'm going to get a drink because I'm thirsty and I need a drink of water. Right. Where were we? Paranormal Happenings in Lincolnshire. If Borley Rectory in Essex is said to be the most haunted house in England, then Lincolnshire must lay claim to being the most haunted county. It's getting a bit cold in here. Turn it off for a bit. There are hundreds of ghostly tales from Lincolnshire. Whether or not they believe in the supernatural, surprisingly nearly everyone has a ghost story, and the people of Lincolnshire seem to thrive on ghostly happenings, even if it does scare them out of their wits. Evidence of which I have after my request for ghost stories appeared in the Gossiper columns of the Lincolnshire Echo. I have selected a few of what I think are the best and what blend in with the other stories in the book. One of the most famous Lincolnshire ghost stories is the ghostly airman, who is a regular at the Black Bull at Welton. That has a story of its own. Like the Black Bull ghostly tales, Many are of hauntings and strange paranormal events from the old wartime airfields. It is no exaggeration to say that every airfield has been the scene of some kind of psychic happening, and during the war years, Lincolnshire was known as Bomber County, whichever direction you travelled in. Within a few miles, you came across an airfield. Today, only a few airfields remain. The others have been bulldozed away or left to die, and the buildings are nothing more than heaps of rubble. But have they died? Or have they become part of Lincolnshire's phantom population? Starting to feel a bit lightheaded, to be honest. Haven't started on that medication yet. I'm a bit tired today. Some days are worse than others. What can I say? It's been a lot this year. Been a lot of awfulness this year, so it's no surprise that my health is spiralling under. Anyway, where were we? That's their aim, isn't it? That's their aim. That's the agenda, the underlying agenda. Grind me down until I fade away, become a ghost, and haunt all you motherfuckers for eternity, babies. So no, I'll carry on doing what I do best, survive. Not for Gordon West, who said, one of my favourite haunts when in Lincolnshire is the Petwood Hotel. When I first moved to Woodhall Spa, I wasted no time in going to visit the Petwood. On my first visit, I enjoyed 2 lovely pints of lager and lime and enjoyed taking in all the very interesting things in that particular hotel. Just before I was due to leave, I decided to look at the Lancaster bar, and after browsing in the bar for some 15 or so minutes, I decided that I had better head for home. My wife was not with me on this occasion. I could not believe my eyes. Coming towards the Lancaster bar was Gibson. I was not shocked to see him, but unable to understand why he should be at the Petwood Hotel at all, as he had in fact left the squadron by the time that they had been moved to Coningsby and then to Woodhall. Gibson smiled very pleasantly. My hair stood on end, and my only thoughts were, I wish I could have his autograph. A very strange thought when seeing what you know belongs to the next world, or is it this world? After arriving home, I then realised that the date was the 19th September, the date on which Guy Gibson was in fact killed in action. Ever since that night, I have seemed to understand this very great man so much better. So little was really known about him, as he died so young. From that time on also, the influences of 617 Squadron have become very real to me. I never visit the Petwood Hotel without catching a glimpse of Royal Air Force Blue walking down a corridor or turning a corner. Here's some photos. This is the Petwood Hotel at Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire in 1944. It's a very Tudor style building. It was in the officers' mess of the famous Dam Busters 617 Squadron. here is a photo of Gibson. Does indeed have a very charming smile. Wing Commander Guy Penrose Gibson, DSO DFC, number 617 Squadron, whose ghost has been seen many times. I'm just laughing because the crow and the turkey are having a scrap out the front. It's quite comical. In the mid-1960s, Air Cadet David Drew had two encounters with the supernatural. The first was at RAF Curtin and Lindsay, which, at that time, operated a cadet gliding school. My first glider solo on a day when prudence ought to have dictated that we stayed inside, he said. February winds and a scattering of snow on the ground. I dropped the winch cable at 900 feet, turned crosswind, and had to sheer violently away as a Spitfire 5 flashed by my nose going downwind. I distinctly recall his nose going up and the flaps coming down. I resumed my now flustered circuit and made a bad landing. Instructional wrath followed, but who was I, a 16-year-old, to try and explain an air miss with a ghost aircraft? For scant moments after the flaps came down, the Spitfire just melted away. Another ghost aircraft? Perhaps a brief glimpse into the time zone. Many other people have claimed to have seen phantom aircraft. See story Phantom Fighter, and Gordon West has the theory that phantom bombers and fighters still take to the skies. Many people have claimed to have heard Merlin engines, but no aircraft is seen. The next encounter for Air Cadet Drew came 2 years later at RAF Hemswell. It was the Air Cadet summer camp with the gliding school. Cadet Drew had just settled in at Hemswell and was on his way to lock up number 4 hangar. Suddenly, I became aware of merry, tuneful whistling and the spanner and hammer on metal. The hangar doors were only open about 4 inches, and as I reached it, the noise stopped. I peered inside the hangar. Nothing. I shrugged my shoulders and shouted, "Anybody there?" With no reply, I walked all around the hangar. Nothing. So I locked up the building. I had just taken a couple of paces from the door when the whistling started again. I have on file many stories from haunted Hemswell, embracing a very wide spectrum of paranormal happenings. In 1978, Derek Harrison had cause to stop his car in order to relieve a call of nature in a convenient hedge which bordered the airfield. It was just after 11 o'clock at night, and it was very dark. Derek was looking across towards the main airfield complex, thinking he was alone. But was he? Suddenly I heard music, he said. It was the Missouri Waltz, ghostly music coming from the old airfield, but it was all in darkness. I was rooted to the spot, and my heart raced a little faster. I then heard the distinct sound of a piston-engined aeroplane starting up. The run-up of the motors was clearly audible. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from the centre of the airfield, followed by a flash of bright lights. Eventually, the sounds of a heavy truck which stopped not far from where I was standing. It was very eerie, for although I could hear sounds of voices, laughter, even the crunching of feet, there was nothing to actually see. As the voices drew nearer, I strained into the misty darkness, but again could not discern anything. So, had Derek Harrison heard a ghost squadron preparing for its paranormal sortie? The tune, the Missouri Waltz, dates back to the First World War era and was played in military messes in both World Wars. I have no idea what that tune is like. Shall we Google it? I'm just curious. Can we find it on Google? Or maybe on Spotify? We'll look for it on Spotify first. I mean, I pay a lot of money for Spotify. I very rarely use it. It's kind of pointless, really. Comes in handy.
Hush-a-bye, my baby, slumber time is coming soon.
Johnny Cash.
Rest your head on Mammy's breast while Daddy hums the tune. All the old folks were humming, banjos were strumming, and the soft breezes sigh as in days long gone by. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I heard this melody, when I was a little fellow on my mammy's knee, the old folks were humming, banjos were strumming, so sweet and low. Hush-a-bye, my baby, go to sleep on Daddy's knee.
Well, I won't play the whole thing, but that's very charming. And now we know what the Missouri Waltz is. Have you ever been to Missouri? I haven't. Never been to America. There's lots of places I haven't been. Stuck in Brisbania hellscape for nearly fucking 37 years in August. Terrifying thought. Terrifying thought. Well, what can we do about this? Nothing. Right. We now know what the Missouri Waltz is. Let's just go back. Oh no, I must have read that. It was played in military messes in both world wars. Right. We have seen in the Ghost Watch story a couple who saw the lights flashing on and off in one of the hangars at RAF Hemswell. And one man was walking across the old parade ground when suddenly a ghostly figure of an airman in full flying clothes appeared. I stared at the ghostly figure that appeared to glow. He said. I gave a startled cry. At the same time, I felt someone push hard against me, sending me sideways. And as I cried out, the phantom airman vanished before my eyes. Another person, just get out of that. Just hold on to that, people there. Right. Another person, this time an airman, still serving in the Royal Air Force, a fitter at RAF Coningsby, also received a push in the back. One day, while working in Section AS7 on the wing of a phantom aircraft, the fitter suddenly felt as if someone had tapped him on the shoulder. Someone's actually here. Spirit is here. I haven't got the aircon on. It's been off for a while. It suddenly got very cold in this corner. This corner where I sit, which is normally very, very hot. Very hot. That's why you always have to put the aircon on. I've got chills. My whole belly's freezing cold. Well, anyway. Just hopefully it's no one annoying. Like you know who. He doesn't usually make the space cold though. It's odd, isn't it, people of Earth? We'll carry on and we'll ignore it, as I usually do, unless he does the full manifestation, and then you'll hear me screaming and running out of this house. Even though I wound him up about it so he didn't have the power. That level of cold is someone drawing energy. It's really cold even around my back now. Alright, well, Mama T is intrepid and there's no one behind me. It's all good people. Where were we? One day while working in Section AS7 on the wing of a phantom aircraft, the fitter suddenly felt as if someone had tapped him on the shoulder. At the time, he was bending down on the leading edge of the wing. He brushed his shoulder by instinct and carried on working, for he knew no one else was on the wing with him. Oh, it's really cold. I'm travelling down my back. A few seconds later, he received a mighty push, which knocked him off the wing of the aircraft. He luckily landed in a crouched position and turned to see who had pushed him off, but there was no one there. He was alone. Air Cadet David Drew carried on with his first love and became a flying officer in the Air Training Corps. Had he thought any more about those ghostly happenings? Yes, I've long pondered them and found the answers in a quote from Lawrence Davel. He was speaking about Corfu and said it had a tangible spirit of place. I was a teenager and possibly therefore susceptible to such a spirit of place. That might be the answer to those two encounters, but there is... I'm going to ignore that. Whoever's made the area where I'm sitting cold is communicating with me. I'm going to ignore it. I'm busy. I said that yesterday, didn't I? And see, 1 hour and 9 minutes, so right on time. Honestly, can almost set a clock by them. Anyway, it's why I'm going to ignore it. It's not appropriate to interrupt my readings. That might be the answer to those two encounters. Don't you normally make my space cold like that? That's why I'm a little bit perturbed. But there is no answer for the Victor bomber, which 1803 squadron was photographed in front of during summer camp at WAF Whiten. Whilst the photographs were being taken, I feel most uncomfortable and keep turning to look at the aircraft. The outside temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, so interesting. He kept turning to look at the aircraft, said Drew. My pal, Chief Warrant Officer Keith Marriott, does the same. Neither of us says anything until 2 weeks later. Victor crashes at Whiten. You've got it, sir, the same machine. And it's Keith who says, you know, I felt damned uncomfortable near that Victor, and now we know why. In 1972, Flying Officer Drew was at RAF Linton on Ouse. Whilst on night exercise in the old bomb dumps, it was an evil, eerie feeling, he said. It exuded from every nook and cranny. This time, everyone, including regular aircrew who are with us, comment on the feeling. I have your back. I don't know who you are, Spirit. Can you identify yourself, please? We'll just carry on, people of Earth. However, not all the Lincolnshire ghosts are on the old airfields, nor are they all phantom airmen and phantom aircraft. Lincolnshire does always get me really cold. Lincolnshire does. I'm assuming it's male. Could be a female, couldn't it? We don't know. Didn't identify it, so my battery's running low. I'll just plug in people of Earth. Just 1 moment. Sometimes I put my keys in the door. Sometimes I have to plug in twice because I don't recognise it otherwise. So let me just read that again. Whilst on night exercise in the old bomb dumps, it was an evil, eerie feeling, he said. It exuded from every nook and cranny. This time, everyone, including regular aircrew who were with us, comment on the feeling. Haunted Hemswell, Lincolnshire, where ghost dogs roar, ghost aircraft roar overhead, and lights flash on and off in the hangar. However, not all the Lincolnshire ghosts are on the old airfields, nor are they all phantom airmen and phantom aircraft. Lincolnshire does have its share of stately ghosts, like the one at Belton House near Grantham, and the ghost at Grimsthorpe Castle near Burn. Between Blakeney and Methingham village there is an area called the Witch Pits. It was so called for it was where witches were supposed to meet. Legend has it that one witch would walk upon the wall around the Longsborough Arms public house in Metheringham village. But someone upset her and she put a curse on the pub, and for many years no one ever prospered at that public house. The curse of drink, you might say. At the market town of Louth, ye old white swan, or should I say, ye old haunted white swan, is the oldest public house. And in 1970 the Lincolnshire Echo reported that the apparition of a tall man with a white cape and hood has been seen many times. And nearly always at 11 o'clock at night. The landlord once heard what sounded like a crate of bottles on the floor of an upstairs room, but no one was there. And still in Louth, a ghostly lady has been seen gliding across the grounds of Thorpe Hall. Legend has it that it is the ghost of a Spanish lady who was spurned in love by Sir John Ball, and she committed suicide in the grounds. Still in the Louth area, there is the White Lady, as the ghost is called, that haunts Somersby Rectory, once the home of the Tennyson family, now the home of the ghostly White Lady. The city of Lincoln is rich in supernatural happenings. Even the local newspaper, the Lincolnshire Echo, had its own ghost, the mysterious Grey Lady, as at its former offices in St. Benedict Square. The most haunted building in Lincoln must surely be the White Hart Hotel in Bale Gate, now part of the Trust House Forte hotel chain. It can lay claim to 3 ghosts. 1, a ghost of a maid dressed in a mop cap who appears mysteriously in the rooms, then vanishes. Getting cold behind me again. Honestly, it's so perturbing that if I was in the middle of this video, I'd actually get out my drum and do a trance drumming and connect to it and find out who that spirit is. But I just, I'm busy. They keep popping in when I'm busy. It's inappropriate, actually. Yes, I can feel it backing off slightly now. The second ghost said to haunt the White Hart is the strange ginger jar ghost, so called because of its liking for ginger, and he wanders through the hotel looking for his jar of ginger, which, it appears, he is doomed never to find. Those who have had a ghostly encounter with the ginger jar ghost say it is a ghostly figure of a man dressed in a smoking jacket and cravat who appears in a confused state, and there is an ice-cold atmosphere. The ginger jar ghost is thought to be that of one-time city councillor H. Levin and one-time owner of the hotel. The third ghost a faceless highwayman, haunts the courtyard of the hotel. Trying to figure out when I should start that new Cialis, whatever they call it, drug, and I don't know about it. I'm not happy about it, can you tell? I hate having to take medications, especially as they invariably don't work. Right. The third ghost, a faceless highwayman, haunts the courtyard of the hotel. The ghostly highwayman has been seen many times. I saw him and thought it must be someone in fancy dress, said Bob Jackson. But when it turned round there was no face inside the hood, just two piercing eyes. It then vanished, leaving a strong smell of lavender. Well, that's pleasant. Lavender's a very nice smell. Protective too, actually. But does the White Hart Hotel have a fourth ghost? I think so, said a young lady who worked. I'm getting that pain under my jaw again. Odd, isn't it? Random. I think so, said a young lady who worked for many years in the hotel as a chambermaid. I have not seen it. An ethereal-like smell, followed by an icy cold feeling and a strong sense of sadness, was what I always got in one particular room. So it is possible that the hotel has another spirited guest, and it could be so. The sad ghost could be that of a man who shot himself in one of the hotel bedrooms. So when you next book into the Trust House Forte White Hart Hotel in Lincoln, do not be surprised if you are asked, "A room? Certainly, sir," with or without a ghost. The Black Horse Public House in Eastgate in Lincoln is reputed to be haunted by a shadowy figure of a lady in a long flowing gown. She has been seen to glide through the upstairs rooms as if in a sort of mist. A reader of the Lincolnshire Echo wrote in to the Gossiper to say that her friend was on her way to work early one winter morning, and as she was passing the archway at the side of the Black Horse, she saw a lady in Victorian clothes. Her face was a blur, like looking at an old photograph, she said. But the most unusual phantom is a character called Spring-Heeled Jack, who haunted the uphill area of Lincoln in the late 1800s. Because this ghostly phenomenon was described as half man, half beast, it could be said that it was a ghoul. And why not? More facts that make it possible are from people who saw it. It was as if drenched in moonlight, said one. He had a hazy, glowing look, said another. Legend has it that the ghoul had springs fitted to his heels, which enabled him to spring high into the air, even over houses, it was claimed. Many times it was sighted, and many times it was fired at, but the bullets passed right through the phantom figure. It became so well known that John Cook composed the Spring-Heeled Jack Gallop. There is no shortage of ghosts and ghostly goings-on in Lincoln, and the supernatural can be found lurking in many places throughout the city. The ghosts wander through the alleyways and byways of old Lincoln, and other haunted places include the Lincoln Guildhall, said to be haunted by the ghost of a former town clerk. White's Restaurant in the Jew's House on the Strait has its resident ghost. The Lady in Blue was seen in the 1950s at Ashley's China Shop in Sincil Street. The same ghost made appearances at the Old Willow Pattern Public House, which was next door, and suggests that the ghost originally came from there. The Nalgo Club, formerly Beaumont Lodge in Beaumont Fee, is haunted by the ghost of a young servant girl called Alice, who committed suicide in one of the upper rooms. The building was then a private house, and the young girl was in service, but it did not work out, and she killed herself. She now haunts the building, and the ghost of a young girl has been seen many times in the upper rooms of the Nalgo Club, the Conservative Club in Silver Street has its ghost, and during redecorating work in 1987, painters who were working overnight in the building swore that they had seen a ghost. Was it a ghostly encounter? Just outside of Lincoln in the village of Cameringham, there is a haunted stretch of road known to the locals as the Cameringham Light. The ghost is said to be Queen Boadicea, one of my muses, the ancient British warrior in her chariot. That would be fabulous to see. My queen. It is certainly the area. The road is parallel to the old Roman road, Ermine Street, and it is only a stone's throw from Fillingham Castle, which is reputed to be haunted. At Sleaford, a ghostly horseman has been seen many times outside the Marquis of Granby public house in Northgate. A ghost horse and ghost rider. Well, of course, the two go together, do they not? Be a bit silly just a ghost horse on its own, and a ghost rider without a horse is just a plain old ghost. Duh. Sorry, launch into moments of sardonism from time to time. Don't mind me. At Sleaford, a ghostly horse. Oh, I read that. The Last Rendezvous Club, now called Ashby. Let's read that correctly. Now called Ashby Country Club. Country clubs is full of snobs. It's dreadful. Snobs. Can't abide snobs. Belong to no club or group, organisation that will have me as a member. Why? Always goes shit fuckery in the end, does it not? For no reason except me, minding my own business, living my best life. Or some petty, syphilitic, jealous ghoul wants to ruin my life for what? Out of just no reason. Just dragging their fannies or their penises around like lost little lapdogs. Whipped little curs that they are. Sad. Sad. Well, you have to laugh. It's true. It's funny because it's true. Right, where were we? Ashby Country Club has long reputed to be haunted, and I can't help laughing. You have to laugh. And has had many supernatural happenings. The most... Yes, it's all coming back to me now. Yes. The most mysterious being... Oh, you have to laugh. The most mysterious being with Mrs. Jean Padley, the previous owner's wife. One Saturday night, just before midnight, it's pure comedy. Many people were assembled in the club's gambling room, not their usual one, for it was being redecorated. I can't help laughing. Mrs. Jean Padley was on the roulette wheel. Suddenly, at the stroke of midnight, every glass ashtray in the room split in half. Every one was a clean cut, said Mrs. Padley. Okay, that would be a little bit freaky, the clean cuts. If you're going to break something, break it utterly. Took a bit of commitment, that though. Every glass ashtray in the room. Well done. A terrace house in Grantham was the scene of a supernatural happening, which involved the local police. It all started one night after a young girl had gone upstairs to bed. Suddenly there was a lot of noise from the bedroom. This continued until, in the end, the neighbours called the police in Grantham. The police in turn contacted a well-known psychic researcher who went into the terraced house and from the bottom of the stairs of the haunted house made a tape recording of the noise going on in the young girl's bedroom upstairs. They said it was a poltergeist at work, and when they went upstairs into the young girl's bedroom, they found that the large Victorian pieces of bedroom furniture, which included a very large double wardrobe, had all been moved around the bedroom. It looked impossible for a teenage girl to move such heavy furniture. Yet, if she did not do it, who did? The sad outcome of it all was that the The sad outcome of it all was that the neighbours hounded the family out of the house. But it is interesting to note that when the family moved, the poltergeist vanished and has never been heard again in that house, nor has it been heard again in that family. On the Dennis McCarthy's Ghost Watch program that I took part in, the tape recording of the poltergeist was played over the airwaves. After the recording had been played, Dennis McCarthy asked Canon John Finney if he had investigated anything like the poltergeist recording. Canon Finney said he had come across situations where things had flown across rooms. I think it is nearly always associated with teenagers, particularly female teenagers, he said, and he added, I found that when dealing with these, the power of Christ, in a sense, quite quickly and easily overcomes this. I find that a straightforward prayer in each room is quite sufficient to deal with it. But is that so? Is that the answer? It did not work for the 3 Irish priests. And it did not work for the person who saw the Metheringham lass. It made him completely unbalanced. So was that the answer? This was also the case with another person who saw the ghostly young lady. Between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night, the ghost of a beautiful young lady in her late teens has been seen many times near the old wartime airfield of Metheringham. The phantom young lady is always seen standing in the road which was once part of the airfield, wearing a pale green coat with a grey or light blue chiffon headscarf tied over her russet-coloured hair, and pinned to her lapel is a metal-type Royal Air Force Wings badge, and as she moves there is a strong waft of the fragrance of lavender. Each time the ghost is seen, she is always asking for help and has stopped cyclists, motorists, and even pedestrians. Everyone who she manages to waylay, she tells them her fiancé has skidded riding his motorcycle and is lying injured just a short way further down the road. The people who have been lucky or unlucky enough to have been accosted by the ghost all said that the apparition appeared solid, not ethereal. She looked quite ordinary, said one person who had seen her. Remember, it was very dark also. I could see her as plain as anything, said Jack Smith. What they mean by that is she's a full manifestation, looks like an ordinary person, fully fleshed out. That's what manifestation means. I know David said, do not even attempt that. I will banish you for eternity. Unless you show me your schlong. I'm joking about showing you your schlong. I saw it one too many times. Once you've seen it once is enough, people of Earth. It's not that aggressive. It's just a schlong. What is it about men and their schlongs and their need to expose them to everyone? Swing them around with pride. Share them around with everybody. Oh well, there is that. Have a bit of a chuckle about that Monday too. My research shows that the phantom... Oh, no, here we go. That's right. My research shows that the phantom young lady was in fact riding pillion on her fiancé's Royal Enfield motorcycle. Her fiancé was a flight sergeant stationed at Royal Air Force Metheringham, and he was giving her a lift home to Metheringham village after being to a local dance. It's very poor English. Wouldn't you say going to a local dance or being at a local dance? Anyway, the English. It's no accounting for. Can't make sense out of nonsense, can you, darlings? You really can't. The flight sergeant was only shaken and bruised, but the young lady was thrown from the machine and killed instantly. She had a broken neck and terrible head injuries. Bless, poor lass. After the ghost has waylaid someone and they investigate the area. The young lady indicates where the crash was. Nothing is found. At that stage, the distressed young lady is in the habit of vanishing into the night, leaving behind a powerful odour of putrefaction. For as soon as she has disappeared, the live witness to her materialization is suddenly stricken by inexplicable fear, panic, sense of unreality. Another who saw the phantom young lady was Mr. Charles Espin, who said, "I could not see her eyes, or, horribly, no eyes in the sockets at all. The frontal skull orbits were empty." Here we have a very odd photograph. The ghostly Catherine appears again, with a little help from the Lincolnshire Echo chief photographer Ken James. In the background, the crumbling remains of RAF Metheringham. So they've just done a little bit of an artistic overlay to try and show us how she appears, but she didn't appear like that. She appeared as a fully fleshed out person until they realised that she was a ghost, which vanishes. Anyway, it's just a bit of artistic license to freak you out. Do you understand? This happened at the end of the war, and the ghost is said to be that of a young woman named Catherine Bystock, who was 19 years old and came from Horncastle. Even before the airfield closed, the ghost was seen, and RAF personnel were very reluctant to go anywhere near that part of the airfield after dusk. This is still very much so today, even though the airfield is now disused and in ruins. In May 1987, which was when my youngest was born, 10th of May 1987, still remember after all this time. It's amazing, isn't it? The power of being a mother and a woman has brought forth life. How quickly we are shocked of. Well, it wasn't that quick. It only took them about 20 years. But anyway, 20 years of hell and to be shocked off. But never mind, life goes on, people are there. In May 1987, Gordon West was driving past the old Metheringham airfield when, without any warning, all the lights on his car turned on of their own accord. It was almost eerie, he said. No switches had been touched, and despite the fact that I turned off my ignition, all my car lights refused to turn off. It was only after he had driven past the old airfield did his car lights return to normal. He could not offer any explanation why it happened. He has never had any trouble with the car lights before the incident, and they have been alight since. It's definitely what it looks like. The storm's coming. He has, however, never been past the old airfield again. The Lincolnshire Wolds is a very haunted area and it had a few airfields. At the old Ludford airfield there is Bobby the ghost dog, while in the village there is the 200-year-old red house which is reputed to be haunted. In this ancient home muffled screams and an eerie scratching noise has been heard, and a workman felt an unseen presence in the back room, near the little room which he had gone to look over. Inside the old red house there is a small room, inside a room in the servants' quarters. This little room, not big enough to lie down in, has a window and a small door with a small grill in it, and a strong feeling of sadness and death. From my research, I am told a beautiful young woman died in that little room after being locked up by the master of the house. But it was said it was the master's wife who had her locked away because she was very beautiful, and the wife knew that the husband had been carrying on with the beautiful young kitchen maid. As a punishment, she was locked in the little room, and one of the other staff had to look after and feed her. The lady and gentleman, if that is the right term to use after such terrible action, never went into that part of the house. After many months, the girl pined away and died in that little room. Sadness enveloped the house, and it was never lucky. Over the years, muffled screams and an eerie scratching noise are heard coming from the servants' quarters, followed sometimes by faint rappings in one of the walls. The haunted red house at Ludford. The red house still stands in the village of Ludford, and the sad little room within a room is still there. It is said that whoever destroys the little room destroys themselves, and they will perish. The legend has been feared by everyone. That is why the little room is still there today. You cannot spurn the warning of the dead, said one local. Why would you want to preserve such an evil place? It's twisted, isn't it? Well, they want to be memorialised, I guess. In May 1988, 3 skeletons, believed to be more than 200 years old, were discovered by John Epton, who was carrying out drainage work in a field near the ghostly red house. Mr. Christopher Bourne, whose family owns the farm and part of Hugh Bourne Developments at Rugby, said, John was driving an excavator and he suddenly turned up these skeletons. The bones had been buried about 2 feet deep, and we now ask, how many more? Only that sinister little room knows the answer. The earth gave up the skeletons, and the sinister little room within a room has the answer. But the curse will keep that safe. For all those years, it has kept people from finding those skeletons, which were only buried 2 feet below the ground. The curse kept people away from the haunted red house, and so did not find out its evil secret. Which is why I was suspicious about that little, don't go near, don't go near. Secrets always hide salient facts, people of Earth, if you know where to dig deep enough. 2 feet deep in this case. The truth will always out, people of Earth. Remember that. The Tanya, the Mamati, always finds out the truth in the end. It will come to me, sometimes in unusual circumstances. Just a short distance from the haunted red house at Ludford is the Georgian-style Kermond Hall. Despite its Georgian style, it was built in the early 1970s, being modelled on a Georgian design. Pardon me. It was built for Mr. Parks, the shipping magnate. Oh, hiccups now. The shipping magnate from Grimsby. Many times a ghostly figure of a man has been seen to rise up out of the lake and move slowly towards an old tree which has no leaves, just slightly uphill, and the ghostly figure moves slowly with his head down. When it nears the tree, it vanishes with a sad, moaning sound. Some people have said a sharp cry, as if for help, is sometimes heard just before the ghostly figure rises fully from the lake, always from the man-made dam end of the lake. The ghost is said to have cursed the house, and that might be true, for Mr. Parks left his wife and moved out. The house then became run down and was sold, and then sold again, just recently, so it could be true. The newly built Kermond Hall, complete with Ghost in the Lake, left of the building. It's rather charming, doesn't it? Apparently no expense was spared when building the house, and the lake is man-made. To build the dam, lorry loads of rubble were needed, and as one lorry moved out, another one was waiting to back in. As one lorry was backing onto the dam, it went over, killing the driver. He now returns to haunt the area and rises from the lake, sometimes giving a cry, and heads towards the old tree as if to warn the other lorry drivers. Was it an accident that could have been avoided? That we will never know. We do know that the ghostly figure has returned to haunt the area and is always seen heading uphill towards the old tree where the road in has been built, and there is a sharp curve at the section where he disappears. So is the ghost heading out from his watery grave to warn others? One Binbrook resident said, "Seeing a ghost rise from the lake is a warning of imminent death. I wouldn't have the hall for all the money in the world. Not with that ghost. The place is haunted by something evil." When they had trout in the lake, I was up there one night and I heard like a moan coming from near the dam, said another local. I got the hell out of it, he added. As stated in Chapter 1, monks and nuns too get into the ghostly scene in many ways, and there are many, many ghosts of monks and nuns that roam this funny old world of ours, and Lincolnshire has its fair share of them. In fact, more than its fair share. Lincolnshire was a county with over 100 religious houses, but after King Henry VIII, who described Lincolnshire as the most brute and beastly shire of the whole realm, passed the Act of Suppression, very few of the religious foundations remained. Most had been erased without a trace. Good old C of E. But had they? Yes, the monks and nuns had abandoned their religion, and many were killed. Are they the ones that now haunt the many sites? In early 1987, young Andrew Reedman and his girlfriend were standing at the bus shelter at the top of Pig Lane on Skellingthorpe Road in Lincoln. It was a very stormy night, and Andrew was wishing the bus would hurry up. Suddenly he sighted two monks walk out of Pig Lane, cross over the road, and continue to walk in single file down Skellingthorpe Road towards the Hart's home area. They were wearing long robes with hoods, and they carried what looked like swords, he said. I imagined that they were people going to a fancy dress party, but did think it very strange for people to be walking out on such a stormy night. Andrew mentioned to his girlfriend what he had seen, and he assumed she had also seen the two monks. But with being such a stormy night, he was not surprised when she did not answer. Nothing more was thought about the strange encounter with the monks until a few weeks later, when he was at college and one of his friends brought up the subject of monks and mentioned that his uncle had seen two on Doddington Road, but they disappeared whilst he was looking at them. Throughout it all, Andrew was still under the impression that his girlfriend had also seen them, and he was not aware that she had done so until 6 months later, when the subject of monks came up again, and it then came out that she had not seen them. She said she remembered him saying about two monks and assumed he meant that they were in a car that had just passed. She did not realise that Andrew had been watching them walk down Skellingthorpe Road. The two monks are said to haunt the old wartime airfield of Skellingthorpe, the very airfield where Sylvia Tucker had a ghostly reunion. Two monks have also been seen many times in the Birchwood area, but unlike with Sylvia Tucker and a beautiful hot sunny day, it has always been in bad weather and on stormy nights when they have been seen. Having all these strange epiphanies coming to me, but I don't know if they're real or not. I'm just going to tune those out because it could be spirit, could be nonsense. It's very strange. Amazing what floats through my brain when I'm reading ghost stories to you people of Earth. As I said, the truth always comes out in the end. It might take 20 years, but it always comes out. I have every confidence in that. Every confidence. It's happened many, many times in my life. Right, where were we? It is very interesting to note that they are only seen on stormy nights, for in the violent storms that hit Lincolnshire on 28th August 1930, a ghostly monk suddenly appeared at a house in Gainsborough. It was a most violent storm, balls of fire in the sky and lightning all night. Never seen a storm like it since. Had he come to warn them? There are many other sightings of monks and nuns. At Little Cawthorpe, just south of Louth, on the edge of the Lincolnshire wolds, a nun is said to haunt the area where there was once a convent. She has been seen many times, and for one motorist, nearly caused a fatal accident. It was just after 10 o'clock as I turned off the main A157, and I was just passing through Little Cawthorpe, when suddenly this figure of a nun glided in front of me, he said. I swerved to miss her, and I skidded to a stop in time to see her go through a hedge. And he added, it was a ghost. It went straight through the hedge. Over the years, there have been many reunions for the wartime ground and air crews, station reunions, squadron reunions, one being at Elsham Wolds, and people turned up from all over the world. At a recent reunion at the old bomber base of Elsham Wolds, an eerie mystery came to light. At the reunion was Stan Holtham, Taff to his many friends. I wonder how he got nicknamed Taff when his name was Stan. But anyway, have to laugh. Who was staying with Shirley Westrup, the secretary of the Elsham Wolds Association. I arrived at Shirley's, and as it was still a nice afternoon, I decided to have a ride around the old airfield first, said Stan. Remember how I was complaining how bitterly cold it was before? Now it's 24 degrees outside and it's bloody hot in here. I'm burning. It's odd, isn't it? That definitely was a spirit. That confirms to my mind there was a spirit with us. I don't know what that entity was though. Didn't give their name, so I didn't engage with it at all. But interesting that now I'm hot, and it was really cool, really cool. So there you go. There's energy around me, but I'm seeing it as actually kind of spirit protectors coming around to protect me because they know I've been unwell. I've been under quite considerable psychic and spiritual attack now for, several months actually. Possibly the last couple of years, if truth be known. Ever since Beauregard died and some twisted fucking plot. But anyway, it's all over now, people of Earth. But it's amazing how the energies swirl around me and let me know that they're here, keeping an eye on me, keeping a bit of company with me. It's kind of sweet, isn't it? I choose to think so. As long as they don't cause me any, harm or jump in and bid in and, violate my boundaries, then I don't have any problem with them coming around and keeping a bit of an eye on me, actually. It's a strange existence, it really is. But it's destiny. Destiny. My mother became more psychic as she got older too. She used to really freak me out because she used to bilocate. She had no control over who and where she bilocated to. That was freaky shit, people of Earth. But anyway, I don't do that. But then she was quite elderly when she was doing that. It's not long before she died, so she was in the late 70s, early 80s. No, actually, wait a minute. The first time she started bilocating was at Logan Lee because her friend complained to me about it. Well, anyway, she'd been doing it since she was in her 70s. She had no control over it, which could be a bit bloody awkward. Imagine having a ghost of a living person appear at the foot of you. Her friend was lying on his couch resting. My mother's ghost, in Egyptian law it would be her bar, appeared at the foot of his couch looking at him with the glint on the glasses, transparent. She wasn't dead, she was very much alive and still had her faculties pretty much back in that time period too. Anyway, I went to see her. I said, you cannot possibly be doing that. I was thinking about him. I wanted him to come and visit me. I said, ever heard of communicating the old-fashioned way via fucking telephone? Or you could have just got some fucking carrier pigeons and sent them. You don't appear as a spirit at the foot of someone's couch. Well, I didn't know, did I? But I had been thinking about him. That was the power of her mind. Anyway, hope that doesn't happen to me. Could be fun though to freak certain people out, certain enemies, but it's just not cricket. It's a boundary, spiritual boundary violation. A big one. Bilocating it, bloody well. Answer the fucking phone. Oh, Jared, look out. The next time you don't answer the phone, baby boy. No, I'm joking. I would never do that to them. Anyway, where was I? Right, he decided to have a ride around the old airfield first, said Stan. When I got back, Shirley was on her own and we started to talk over old times. Taff, did you know Sid was a medium? She asked. No, I replied. I don't believe in that sort of thing particularly. It is true, said Shirley. I was having a cup of tea with him and happened to mention Hillary's ghost. Shirley went on to say that Sid contacted his Red Indian spirit, otherwise known as a Native American spirit, and he wrote on a piece of paper and passed it to Shirley. On that piece of paper was an airframe number of a Lancaster, a name and a date. We checked out what Sid had written down for Shirley and we found that the aircraft had been listed as missing. And the date? It was the date that he had written on the piece of paper and given to Shirley Westrup. Very eerie, for he had no way of knowing that aircraft number. No way at all. For me, Elsham Wolds was a very happy station, even with its heavy losses, 10 in 2 weeks. But it was still a very happy station, but a bit eerie to go back there now. So strange. Hillary's ghost, which Stan Holton referred to, was so called because it was she who encountered the ghost. In late January 1945, Corporal Hillary, a WAF MT driver of number 103 Squadron at Elsham Wolds, was sent in a small van to the dispersal pans on the far side of the airfield. It was very foggy and she drove with the van headlights full on. It was about midday and she soon became hopelessly lost. I got out of the van to try to locate my position, she said, and while standing in front of the van, I saw coming out of the fog into the van headlights 3 aircrew in full flying kit, sidcot, helmet, flying boots, etc. I thought that they were stranded and I asked them the way, but they just walked past and disappeared into the fog. Corporal Hilary was very shaken by this ghostly encounter, and by the time she had found her way back to the squadron, she was very upset. She told both Stan Holtham and Shirley Westrup, who was also an MT driver, what she had seen, and it became known as Hilary's ghost. But had Corporal Hilary, like so many others we have just read about, unlocked the time zone? Not everyone can unlock the time zone, an example being Andrew Redman's girlfriend. She did not see the 2 monks, even though she was looking in the same direction as Andrew, and he could see them very clearly. I don't think it's about unlocking time zones, it's about whether someone is psychic or not. It's not everyone is attuned. Anyway, he's starting to irritate me. I mean, it's true that you move in and out of time from past, future and present, but it's flubbery people are there. Anyway. From it all, a person interested in the paranormal and the tourist wishing to revel in ghosts and gore will find the macabre side of Lincolnshire very, very interesting. Irritating me with 2 ellipses between the verys. You understand. Instead of criticising, I should be writing my own books, and then I too could irritate people with my writings, which I'm sure happens daily on Facebook when I share my memories. But anyway, nobody complains, nobody comments, nobody probably reads them, so my whole body of work is wasted anyway. Like everything else in my life. Smallest violin. Never mind. Of no consequence, people of Earth. I like how I do that little sniff at the end though. Not too hard. Ghost weekends are now the in thing, for only just recently the Scottish National Tourist Board has launched a guide to more than 60 ghosts. I do get pissed off though, let's be fair here, when I think about how many people's wealth and prosperity I have contributed to over the years by supporting various, various activities. The years I poured into the Jewish community. Didn't do a lot of charity work for them, to be fair, but I was a constant presence and participated for, 30 odd years. The years I poured into the Brisbane music scene, only to be driven out because someone's hooked up with someone. It's a bit fucking mean-spirited, but it is what it is. What else? The years I poured into, the years I poured into writing everything down, into Facebook and advocating against child sexual abuse, and then the last 5 years against the COVID, the energy I've poured into things trying to keep some kind of balance in the world, or be the one holding the last fucking rope before I let it all go. Ping, ping, ping. It's not just me, it's other people like me out there, but it all just feels such a fucking waste of time and energy, for which, we didn't get paid for. It was just draining the fuck out of us while being snared and laughed at by bloodless dogs. Oh, that was one thing too much. Really one thing too much. Anyway, what can I say? Now I'm pouring energy, and have done since 2009, into my YouTube videos, reading stories to you, also for which I don't get paid for, and passing time, marking time till I die. I mean, when you think about it, it's a dreadful fucking shame and a waste, isn't it? It really is. I try not to think about it, or I might actually go insane. So we won't think about it. We'll just keep reading people about it. You're on a channel of a woman who used to be a zombie, who's fought her way back from 16 near deaths, and no one gives a fuck. So I'm just going to read my stories and hopefully drop off my perch one fine day, and you can all have a collective sigh of relief. I'm finally gone. Misfits, honestly. I'm not talking about the few people that actually love me and are sincere and genuine. But anyway, where were we? That's right. Ghost weekends are now the in thing. For only just recently, the Scottish National Tourist Board has launched a guide to more than 60 ghosts, and you can take a ghost tour. The tour begins within the shadow of Edinburgh Castle at the Witchery, which is now a restaurant, but at one time was a centre for devil worship. Very much doubt that, but anyway. Twats. Edinburgh Castle itself was once the scene of many horrific tortures and supernatural happenings. I should have thought Scotland was the home of spirits, bottled, that is. It is interesting to note that the Montrose ghost, see story more about the Montrose ghost, ranks high on their list of ghosts. An interesting, eerie story, and I am the only one to show a photograph of the funeral of the pilot whose ghost returned to haunt the Montrose aerodrome. Not to be left out of it, the Norwich Tourist Office is trying to promote its ghosts, but to top it all, Paul Court, a general manager of the Cairn Hotel, is offering a ghost weekend with a themed ghost dinner at Ripley Castle. What a lovely title my book is. Arg! But they made him change it to this. It's ironic. I like arg better. Anyway, so you can see Lincolnshire has much more to offer than just potatoes. It also has a wonderful crop of ghosts. In fact, Lincolnshire is the most haunted place in the world. And not only for ghosts, for Lincolnshire is also top of the league for treasure. I mentioned this, for I have also included a treasure mystery at the end of the book. Legend has it that King John's treasure was lost in the Fens in October 1216, and it lies buried under mounds of silt just south of Sutton Bridge. Could the crown of England lie buried there? David Bellamy, the botanist, said it might be there. In February 1988, Professor James Holt from Cambridge stated he knew where to look for King John's treasure, but the Wash has not yet revealed its secret. The rich Lincolnshire or Lincolnshire countryside is rich in ghosts that haunt without rhyme or reason, and it can be anywhere, as I have just shown. These are just a few. Around every corner there is an eerie tale, as pupils from St Hugh's School in Woodhall Spa found out not so long ago. At the official opening ceremony for number 617 Squadron, Dam Busters Memorial, in the centre of Woodhall Spa on 17th of May 1987, the choir from nearby St Hugh's School led the singing. It was a miserable wet day and not suitable for taking any photographs, so they decided to wait for a better day. A few days after the dedication, the headmaster, Michael Callum, took the boys and girls back for a souvenir photograph of the school choir in front of the memorial. They had waited for a sunny day, for they wanted a colour photograph to show off their scarlet cassocks and white surplices, which made a beautiful picture. And I'll just show you the photo, but I'll read the blurb underneath. Is it Nigger? ? The mysterious black Labrador that just had to be in the picture with the St Hugh's School choir? After all, it was a very special occasion and in front of the Dam Busters Memorial, and the picture just had to have a black Labrador, but all so very eerie. And you can plainly see, if I can get my laptop to focus on it, a black Labrador sitting in between the two rows of children. Oh, and we now know that Nigger was a Labrador now, because that wasn't clear when you wrote about that earlier. I was trying to figure it all out. Had to just let it go. See, the truth always comes out in the end. Sometimes you just have to wait. That was the start of the eerie mystery, for as the children got ready for the photograph, a stray black Labrador suddenly appeared and insisted on joining the group for their photograph. Mark Upton, the master taking the photograph, tried repeatedly to shoo the dog away, all to no avail. They tried moving around, but each time they settled down for the photograph, the black Labrador was once again in the centre. The black Labrador refused to go. In the end, the school finished up with their souvenir photograph, and sitting right in the middle of the group, right in front of the memorial, staring straight at the camera, was the black Labrador. Was it Nigger? Why would you call your dog, your black dog, Nigger though? Oh well, I guess I had a black cat named Zulu, so I made it even more specific to an actual tribe of people, but he was a Zulu. He was king of the Holland Park Forest. He was an amazing cat. So anyway, I've just realised that that could be deemed to be racist too, so oops. Wanted him to have a name of a powerful tribe and of distinction, but someone else could twist that as I named him after a racist, thing, but I'm not like that. I'm actually very, as a shaman, I'm actually, very connected to indigenous tribes and paths and walks across our planet. I think it's very important to be in tune to our earth and our ancient ways of being. So there's no racism intended behind it. But anyway, where was I? Faffing people of earth. If it was not nigger, whose dog was it? No one knows. As everyone knows, I had no idea who nigger was. As everyone knows, Nigger was the famous black Labrador dog of Wing Commander Guy Gibson that was killed on the night of the Immortal Dams raid. I should have made that clear way back when I had no idea who he was referencing. Remember they said they went to Nigger's grave and I went, is this an animal? Like, why would you call a person that name? Remember I was quite offended by that. Now we find out it was a black Labrador. Nigger was the squadron mascot for number 617 and a firm favourite with everyone. At all the parties, Nigger would knock back a few beers and then zigzag down the corridor to sleep it off. What a guy. Gibson felt very depressed after hearing that Nigger had been run over and killed. The raid was on and he realised that the death of Nigger was a very bad omen, and he ordered his death to be kept secret. Just before takeoff, Gibson gave instructions to Chiefy Powell to bury Nigger outside his office at midnight that night, when they would be crossing the enemy coast. Gibson hoped that his friendly little soul would give an uplift with the task ahead. I want to cry. I really do. Still remember having to bury Beauregard after dark because those bastards, they were so vicious, those fucking vets. I'll never fucking forgive them. And as long as I draw breath, people of earth. But anyway. The Myrna and Adair dams were attacked and breached, but it was a very costly operation, with 9 bombers lost and 53 brave young men. Guy Gibson returned safely and was subsequently awarded the Victoria Cross. He was later killed whilst taking part in a raid against Rayt, R-H-E-Y-D-T. The story of the mysterious black Labrador dog was recounted in the Sunday Express, and it prompted a letter from an Oxford reader. A great friend of mine at one time lived in a house in Lincolnshire which was owned by Guy Gibson. When she was a small girl, she used to wake up in the middle of the night and see a figure dressed in uniform standing next to the bed of her little sister. Seated obediently at the feet of the figure was a black dog. I miss my dogs, all of them, and my cats, and my bird Charlie, and all my chickens. And my human family and friends that have passed. Well, not some of my family, but not my immediate progenitors. But I miss Elsa. I miss walking around the neighbourhood with Charlie on her perch and Beauregard beside me, and I'd do the circuit and I'd go and visit Elsa. I'd sit and she'd look at all the different light refracting through the leaves of the trees and We would sit there sometimes for 1 to 2 hours. She was almost barely verbal at that time. We would just sit together, waiting to die. Me, of course, much younger than her, and I didn't die, and I got my hopes up that I might have a one true love at long last, and that was another lie. I'm still waiting to die, people of Earth. Well, it could happen one day, couldn't it? I mean, you have to laugh. It's actually quite comical when you think about it. Oh, dear God. Seated. I shouldn't be laughing, I should be distraught, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how all that played out. Seated obediently at the feet of the figure was a black dog. The first sighting of a ghostly black Labrador was in February 1952 at Royal Air Force Scampton near Lincoln, the home of the Dam Busters. I have to stop. I'm verging on hysterical laughter now. It's not appropriate. It's really not. It's really not appropriate, people of Earth. And sometimes all you're left after a tragedy is the comedy. But it's too soon, you understand. Far too soon. The Labrador was also seen on the night of the 16th, 17th May 1953, 10 years to the day when Nigger was killed. A black Labrador moving without a sound, not even the rattle of hard claws on a hard surface, has been seen in and around RAF Scampton many times. Nigger's grave can still be seen at RAF Scampton today. Nigger was immortalised in the dam's raid, for Nigger was the code word announcing the success of the operation. So had the pupils of St Hugh's seen a ghost or the reincarnation of Nigger. It's also very eerie. But stranger still is the fact that the stray black Labrador has never been seen again. And when I asked Michael Callum what he thought about it all, he said, "I make no claim that the dog was in any way supernatural, but I have not seen it either before or since the occasion of the photographs. Strange but true, and as stated, they can haunt without rhyme or reason. Some ghosts have a turbulent past, but few are malevolent. To reach the ghosts, you unlock the time zone and enter their spectral world. Could that be the answer? No, it could not, because you don't have to unlock anything. If a ghost wants to haunt you, bing, bang, boom, baby, they just show up. Quite astonishingly so. Anyway, that is the end of chapter 6. Tomorrow, if I feel up to it, I will continue with chapter 7 and 8, which are both very short chapters. 7, 8 and 9, both very short chapters, so I may continue on to chapter 10 as well. Yes, that seems reasonable. 2 hours and 35 minutes. And anyway, hasta mañana till we meet again. Here's looking at you kids. Stay safe, stay happy, stay wild and free, stay human, stay in your flesh suits for as long as possible. Stay kind, stay honouring, communicate with people you have basic respect for, and if not, fuck the hell off, because I don't care. And seriously, don't. And where was I going with that? The sun is setting, so have a beautiful evening if you are Queenslander. And wherever you are else on planet Earth in the space-time continuum, stay in love with your planet, stay in love with the ancient ones, your gods, stay in love with God and all manifestations, however you wish to worship. You know, the creator of all that is, was, and never shall be. If you're an atheist, stay in love with yourself and your family, and your little piece of land you reside upon, wherever that might be on planet Earth. If you're off planet, stay in love with us. We're a pitiable lot. We really are. We're base and crude and rude and dishonouring. But there's a few good uns in amongst us, so please don't nuke us all. And on that dark thought, I bid you goodbye. I'm kind of done for the day. I'm tired. No, we can't leave on a dark, miserable thought like that, can I? Okay, interdimensional entities that visit us regularly, please preserve us. There's hope for us yet. There's a few worth keeping, and I advocate for those few. I'm probably not one of those few, since I've become quite dark and distressed with recent events in recent years, but there's always some kind of beautiful future for someone to look forward to, so think of that person, let them enjoy their lives and peace and happiness and whatever measure of success they can achieve, and let them be surrounded by good, kind people who protect and defend them and hold them precious. And life, l'chaim, be in it. Bye for now, people of Earth. Here's me cutting deals with non-human intelligences, 'cause I can. Bye for now.